pressure was on.
That was tough, man. Lots of technical difficulties going on tonight.
It's too much. It's too much.
I can't handle this on a Tuesday night. It's too early in the week.
No.
Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Josh.
And this is the PUDs Podcast. All right, man. So what's going on?
What's going on, buddy? I missed you.
I know. I missed you too. It's been a little bit.
I haven't seen you.
Since Halloween.
I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. Here we are, PUDs episode 19, coming off some spooky episodes.
Fresh off of the spooky season.
Yeah. Turkey season coming up quick.
Yeah. It got cold. It got real cold real quick.
It seems like it's going to be one of those years where winter's setting in. I think last year we kind of got off easy. We'll see what happens. Yeah. It's New England. Anything can happen. We love talking about the weather.
It's not only is it cold, like physically cold, but it's like sick season.
Yeah. I know you're coming off a cold.
Yeah. That's why we're a little behind on the recording. I'm coming off a real bad sinus infection. It was kind of, my voice is still not quite there. So, but yeah, it was kind of rough.
How selfish of you to get a couple days. How selfish of you to get sick and your voice being ruined so we couldn't actually podcast with each other. The listener deserved better.
Fever. I went home from work one day and I had a fever, so I laid down for a nap and I woke up and I thought I was dead.
That's not good.
You ever had a fever and then you have like the hallucinations? I literally woke up and I was like, "Oh, I'm dead. I'm in a coffin. I'm dead."
When we were in New York and we all got sick off the thing that Ash had, I had a pretty bad fever. It was like enough that I like couldn't, like when you're in that like fever sleep, like you're not actually really falling asleep. Right. You're just kind of tossing and turning, and eventually like I just woke up like soaked in sweat, probably because my fever broke for a little bit. And it's kind of it's a crappy feeling, but you're like, at least it seems like my fever has subsided a little bit. And then you're like, why do I have then you're like super hot because I had like 50 blankets on and like literally a sweatshirt and like sweatpants in bed. And it was probably like 70 degrees in the room.
So you got the fever and you're freezing because your body has the chills. Yeah. So it's like, and then you have like the fever dreams and all the, like I said, it was a rough week.
Dude, I was having, it's funny you said like fever dreams. Like I was having weird dreams. I remember when we were up there, like it was like, I was thinking about like the lumber industry in like New York. It was just weird. It was very, very strange.
That's a weird dream for sure.
Like, I don't know. It was like I was in the woods or something. It was weird.
I wonder what a bundle of lumber costs nowadays.
No, I just remember like I was just thinking about like history and stuff of things. It was very strange. And I was like, I think I feel like death right now. That's why I probably am having weird dreams.
Oh,
anyways,
only you would have a fever dream about the history of the lumber trade in New York.
I think I'd read something about it before earlier in the day. That's why the new book I got. But it was like I'm like, why is my brain so fixated on this right now? I just want to go to sleep.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Then eventually I passed out. But anyways, I'm glad you're feeling better. I'm glad we're both in decent health.
Me too. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Well, let's get into the scramble.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so I just took Moose to the vet, which is always an experience. So Moose is our older cat. She's like 7.5 years old now, and she like basically turns into Velociraptor. She scratched you before, like pretty recently.
Oh, yeah. You can't unless you are the owner of Moose. You can't touch Moose.
Yeah, and she doesn't really like Ash that much either, to be honest. She's like she's half Russian blue, so her mom was like a purebred, and I know that their breed is like notorious for picking like one person and that's all they like, and they hate everybody else. They're like, she's super like you've seen her, like she's affectionate with me, like she follows me around and like she's really generally nice. She still isn't a big fan of getting picked up. But yeah, she definitely picked me as her person. So we had to bring her to the vet. We try to go yearly, but a little bit earlier than usual because she takes prednisone sometimes for asthma. So they're like, oh, you need to bring her in. So I brought her over tonight and like, it was just funny. The vet tech in there, I thought literally was going to like pee himself. And it's just funny because she's like a 9.5 pound like black cat. And like she literally like wouldn't get out of her little crate. So like I'm like, can you just hold the crate? And the guy's like, I don't know, she seems pretty aggressive. I'm like, dude. I was trying not to laugh. Like it's not funny when you get scratched by a cat, but I'm like, you deal with animals all day.
You're a vet.
Yeah.
You went to school for this, guy. If you can't get the cat out of the crate, you might want to try something else. Taxidermy, maybe.
It was funny. It was like, that scene in the beginning of Jurassic Park where like the Australian like game hunter's like, shoot her, and like the Velociraptor's dragging the guy into like the crate and stuff. It kind of reminded me of that a little bit. I just had a vision of like a moose just attacked him and started like dragging him slowly into the crate, and I have to like go to the front and be like, you're not gonna believe what my cat's doing to your vet tech right now.
The stethoscope falls out. Is there a stethoscope? Do vets have stethoscopes?
The doctor did, yeah. They listened to her little heart and stuff.
It's too much.
So yeah,
That's funny.
That was always an experience. She scratched me once, but once we got her out of the crate and I was able to like put her in on the little scale, they like weigh her and make sure she like weighs the same amount. And they always ask me if she's normally that aggressive at the vet, and I say yes. And they ask me if she's like that at home, and I say no, and it seems like they never believe me. Like I just willingly have this cat that like wants to kill me all the time.
It's a cat, dude.
Yeah.
It's a cat going to the vet. They don't want to get in that crate.
No.
Once you pull out that crate, she must know.
Yeah, she let me put her in it. No, she actually ran up here in the office / Black Cat Studios and jumped on a table, and I kind of got her and put her in the crate. It's usually a 2-person job. I should say Ash held the crate and I put her in the crate. Yeah.
Moose, you got to be better, girl. You got to be better.
She's gotta chill out, but we got her there. She had a couple like a rabies shot, and I think it's like a feline distemper shot or something, and they give her 2 shots in the butt. She didn't like that. the vet tech was cowering in the corner.
So can you just give it to her? Can you give her the shot?
No, I did hold her down while the vet gave her the shots, but I'm like, that's I feel bad though, because it's like it is my cat. But we got her checked up. They asked about her asthma and whatnot, so we got prednisone, and they tried to sell me like $500 worth of flea and tick cream, which I was like, meh. Yeah, they're kind of indoor cats. I ended up getting one just to use in the summer in case we bring it in, but I didn't think we needed to apply it year round where we live.
You got pressured into that flea purchase.
Yeah, they're like, do you want the 6 months for $20 off? I'm like, eh.
If you thought that was tough, just you wait until you have to go bring Rylan to get shots.
Yeah, she's gotten a few so far, but you can already see the wheels turning with why kids hate to go to the doctors. Because it's like every time we bring her now, she just gets poked and prodded, or like has to have like a blood test or something. Yeah.
Jeremiah's like deathly afraid of the COVID test now.
They give him a COVID test when he goes?
Yeah, like when he was sick back when COVID was a thing, like they had to give him the COVID test. Now every time he goes there, he thinks he's getting it.
Is that the where they'd stick the Q-tip up to like your brain? Or like I felt like that anyways.
He hates it.
I don't blame him. It was pretty awful.
He hates it so much.
Yeah, it sucks.
But yeah, that's funny, man. That's funny.
So what you been up to?
No, just been sick. But been watching the Celtics. The in-season tournament started. Have you heard about the NBA in-season tournament?
No, I have not. I was going to ask you what that was. So,
if you want my answer, what it is it's a marketing ploy, because at the end of this year, this season, the contracts are up for like the networks, the TV networks. So what I think they're trying to do is they're trying to make this in-season tournament, because this time of year is kind of when there's the lowest viewership in the NBA. So they're trying to make this in-season tournament to get more people to watch, get more people invested. And that way, when they turn around and say, all right, TNT, this is how many people we had. Like, we had an influx of 13% people started watching this time of year, so we're going to need you to pay $3 billion to show our games on Thursday nights or whatever it is. So I think it's really a more of a marketing ploy so that they have some leverage going into negotiating with the with the cable network. So
is there
get a little more money.
Is there any sort of what's the style of the tournament? I guess.
So
and who and what happens if you win?
There's 4 different. Well, you get a little trophy.
Oh boy, it's like the All-Star game. It sounds like the All-Star game, except not.
Yeah, the professionals. That's what they look forward to, a little trophy. But no, so there's 4. They broke them up into 4 groups, and basically the winner of each group plays each other into the finals, and then whoever wins. The motivation for the teams, I guess, is I think the winner, every player on the team gets a $500,000 bonus. So
that's a pretty good incentive.
Yeah,
for some of the guys, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess it gets them a little invested, and they're gonna play these games anyways, right? It's part of their schedule. Yeah. It's nothing different. They've just changed the format of how the games are played or what the stakes that are happening during it. And listen, I'm a basketball fan. I don't really need a reason to watch more basketball, but for those, if they're trying to get the fringe people a little more invested, I don't know if this is gonna be it, but I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see. I'm not afraid of change, so who knows? Maybe it'll be great, but I don't think it's really going to be that much different than what's actually happening now.
So I'd consider myself in those fringe people, and I did not even hear about it at all. So that's probably not a good start. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Yeah. No good then.
Okay. I was gonna ask though, so if it's still this regular season, when you're saying it's the regular games they play. Do you mean I guess I'm confused. How does that work? Is it a bracket kind of they're playing against each other?
Yeah, it's a record against teams that are in. Yeah, the teams that are in your thing, and then you get the top 2 seeds, and yeah, it's a whole thing. Okay. It's a whole thing.
So they're not even actually playing each other.
No, they are, but they're also playing every other team in their bracket. It's not one and done. You lose and you're out of that seeding.
Interesting.
So
interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my scramble.
Cool. You want to get into the main topic? Well, I should say our recap main topic. All right.
No, we're not getting into the main topic. We need to do Nick's music moment first.
Thank you. You're right, Josh. I forgot about that time as much as I always tease you for forgetting about it. Yeah. And it's right in front of my face. All right, so here's Nick's music moment picks for episode 19. We skipped him in the beer tasting because it was already a pretty long episode, and we kind of were doing back-to-backs that day, so that's why there were no picks for episode 18. If you were really looking forward to them, listeners, I know everybody really is. I do sincerely hope that sometimes people are checking out these tracks.
I think so.
So again, just going through my my kind of running music from past couple days. Nothing super new out of here, but just stuff I've been coming back around to listening again. So the first song is called The Runners. It's by The Naked and Famous. The album Simple Forms. This song is off, I believe it's their 3rd or 4th album. It's a really good, solid album. They're still kicking around, but they're kind of really not a full band anymore. And this song, actually, Ash and I were originally thinking of it being our wedding song, but it's kind of a louder, not harder. It's not a harder song. It's a pop song, but definitely kind of louder. And we were trying to picture doing a slow dance to it and just really couldn't see it. We really like the lyrics to it because it kind of talks about going through a relationship and stuff and kind of being there for each other. So we thought it was very fitting, but just not a great wedding song in our opinion. So that's a little backstory behind that. Been coming around to that album again and kind of listening to it. And the next song,
got to take the women. You got to take the women's opinion into account for the wedding song.
Oh yeah, I did, and I'm very happy that we didn't do. I was thinking that today when I was listening to it, and I was like, this kind of would have been intense to try to have as a wedding song, and I'm glad we picked the song that we did, which is "Dark Side of the Gym" by The National. For anybody that wants to look that one up, that's a bonus tidbit right there. That wasn't even supposed to be included. The second song is "Everything in Its Right Place" by Radiohead, and the album's Kid A. This came back out, I think, around 2001. This song is the opener off the album, and a big thing about this with Radiohead is after they came out with the bends that had fake plastic trees, the bends, High and Dry, and a whole bunch of other sort of big guitar arena rock sort of sounding hits on it. They really wanted to be different, try to go in a different direction. So on this album, they all kind of decided to pick up different instruments and really get in. And it's got a lot more of a digital sort of sound to it, a lot more synths and sort of drum beats and things like that on it. There are a couple songs that are more acoustic based and have guitar on them, but this opener song marks like a huge departure from their previous sound. It opens up with like, I believe Tom York's saying like a line, lemon lime or something, and it's like his vocals are just kind of getting mixed over and over again, like on a loop. So it just sort of sets the tone sort of for where the rest of that album's going. They open with this and play this live a lot, so I think I've seen them play it live every time, and it always ends up being kind of a really cool thing because they're kind of mixing Tom York's vocals and looping and doing everything, and I think Johnny Greenwood, their guitarist, does a lot of that, so it always ends up being sort of a unique live experience if you ever do catch them live and they play that. The third song is Phenomena from the Yeah Yeah Yeahs and the album Show Your Bones. Big just sort of guitar driving song by the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. I think one of their first bigger hits that they really came out with. This album I've just been running to a lot lately because it's just got a really good beat to it. Really driving sort of rock song. Nice little guitar riffs and such coming in. A lot of use of like sort of octave pedals and things like that for sort of guitar nerds. I'm pretty sure is using a Digitech whammy, at least their guitarist is on most of this. The fourth song is Love by the Smashing Pumpkins off Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. Just a super grungy, distorted song. I think I kind of was starting to listen to them again because it was like the 30th anniversary of Nirvana's In Utero, I believe, like last week or the week before. So if you're into a lot of different like music podcasts, there was a lot of different talk and stuff about the production of that with the big 30 years up. Dave Grohl was kind of talking about the production of the album, and kind of that was, it probably became a little bit more famous than it would have just because Kurt Cobain passed away and kind of killed himself allegedly like a year or two after that came out, and they never did anything else. That was kind of their second album. But anyways, kind of got into the grungier stuff again. Yeah, Love is just a super kind of grunge 90s song. Like, it's got super distorted guitar. Billy Corgan's vocals are kind of going through like a fuzz pedal effect almost. Just a very sort of biting Smashing Pumpkin song. Kind of one of those really contrasting songs on that album to go along with some of the quieter ones. And the fifth song is another big throwback, and I had a song off this album before, but it's In Your Eyes by Peter Gabriel. It's off the album So. Still a big hit to this day. You definitely hear it. Eyes. Yeah, the light, the heat. But just a really solid song. I heard a cover of this. I'm trying to think who it was on the radio a couple weeks ago on Sirius, and yeah, I was listening to this version again. There's not really a lot to say about Peter Gabriel. He's just a super talented guy. This was a massive radio hit, massive single when it did come out, even though it was in the 80s. A lot of people, I wonder if like the generations now, if we're getting to that point where like people aren't going to know who Peter Gabriel is.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But
because it's not like his song's not super like a lot of the people that know older generational music is probably because you hear it in a movie, you hear it on TV, you hear it in a TikTok, like whatever. If you're not hearing those things, you're not going and looking for Peter Gabriel unless you're like really deep into music like that. But I would imagine you're right. The average music listener from this generation's not finding Peter Gabriel.
they just need to put this song in like the next Stranger Things or something.
Yeah,
then it'll be everywhere again.
You're right.
Yeah, it's a good song. I mean, one thing that always sticks out with this too in the production to me is that it's so good. Like, it doesn't sound like an older song that came out in the 80s. Like, it's very crisp and cleanly recorded. The acoustics, a lot of drums on it, and just good lyrics, a lot of vocals and stuff. I think he was kind of getting into the African sort of influences with a lot of different vocal harmonies and things like that, and all the percussion and things. You can really hear that coming across in this song. So
yeah, that's cool.
So that's it.
It's definitely a good song.
Do you get a bonus Josh's jazzy music moment? I said it correctly for the first time.
I think I have a surprising Josh's jazzy music moment for you.
Lay it on me, Big Daddy.
Have you heard the new song released by the Beatles?
Yes, actually. Yeah. Yes. Which is pretty wild how they did that.
The Now and Then.
Yeah, is it called Now and Then?
It's called Now and Then.
Okay.
Yep, the song's called Now and Then by the Beatles. And so I watched it. They did a little mini documentary on HBO. I think it's on Disney Plus and stuff too. But basically, back after John Lennon died, I guess Yoko had some tapes of him playing the piano and singing some songs, and passed them along to Paul, Ringo, and what's the other one's name? George. They had basically started to put together a song, and the technology wasn't quite there at the time to actually finish it. And then George Harrison died, and they kind of left it alone until like a couple of years ago and picked it back up, and they ended up finishing it. They actually, Peter Jackson, the guy that the director of like the Hobbit, the
Lord of the Rings
and all that, Peter Jackson,
King Kong.
He was the one that was able to isolate John Lennon's voice.
Oh, so he actually did it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize he was involved with that specifically.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Because I guess he had helped them. And if you haven't seen the documentary, check it out. It's pretty good. It's short. It's like half an hour, 45 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
But he had helped them. I guess I don't think I ever saw it. They put out like a little movie. And I guess he helped to make
there's a documentary on that song? Specifically?
Yeah,
oh, okay. I've not seen that. I thought you were talking about the documentary that came out about like the Beatles. I think it was about them making Abbey Road or something.
Yeah.
That came out. Because I had seen that one that came out a few years back. I can't think of the name of it.
I think that might actually be the one that Peter Jackson did with them.
He did do it. That's why I was getting confused.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this documentary is on the new song Now and Then. And so Peter Jackson basically was able to isolate John Lennon's vocals, and the technology is caught up so that they were able to do that and make a song out of it, and it's good. It's a good song. So that's my Josh's Jazzy music moment.
Yeah, and the documentary is called Get Back for anybody that wants to check that out. That's like a 3-part documentary that Peter Jackson made about the Beatles.
Oh yeah, Get Back.
Yeah, and definitely check out that new one. That's interesting though, man. It's cool that they can do that with technology and also kind of spooky in a weird way. Kind of interesting. All right.
It's only a matter of time until Michael Jackson's singing at the Super Bowl again, a song that nobody's ever heard. You got a hologram or a robot Michael Jackson and some songs that you've never heard from him. And that's
Michael Jackson's covering Dream On by Aerosmith. This is weird. Dream on. All right. Into the main topic.
Let's get into it.
All right, so where I last left you, I believe, was Halloween at your house.
That was the last time we physically saw each other was Halloween. The last time we physically recorded was a little bit about a week or so before Halloween, and then we spent Halloween together. You came to my neck of the woods to do some trick-or-treating.
Down to Tiverton, Rhode Island.
That was you were taking a big risk coming down here because I've never it was our first year in the house, so we haven't trick-or-treated in this area before, so it could have been an absolute crapshoot.
That was good. I mean, I figured you guys have a pretty nice looking neighborhood over there, and the house is decently apart. I'm sure in Rehoboth, like with Rylan, we'll find places as she gets older, like cul-de-sacs in some neighborhoods, but obviously, like where we live, like nobody's trick-or-treating on the road that we live on, and we have a really long driveway, and everybody near us has really long dark driveways.
Yeah.
So trick-or-treating wasn't going to happen immediately around here.
Do you even bother leaving out candy?
No, we don't.
No,
no, not at all.
Figured.
Yeah, I think I'd be creeped out more if someone showed up at our doorstep on like Halloween night. So it'd be like, or they'd just get all the candy. I'm like, you guys win. Like you get like 12 packs of Reese's. Here you go. Dude, and some people, speaking of Reese's, the people in your neighborhood were giving out good stuff. We're still eating through Ryland's Halloween candy
bars.
Full-size Kit Kat bar. Full-size Kit Kat bar. I forgot about. Just found it
Jeremiah
today.
had
I forgot about it. I didn't notice it.
Full-size Reese's, a full-size Starburst, a Snickers bar. Like, it was crazy.
Full bag. There's a full normal bag of Skittles that I haven't eaten yet that we got. Like, who gives that on Halloween? It's awesome, though. I love it. We'll be coming back.
Good neighbors.
We'll be coming back.
Yeah, we got good neighbors. It was I was like I said, I was very
you were
very
Luigi.
pleasantly pleased. It was what?
You were Luigi.
Yeah, I was. Oh yeah, for those of you who didn't see,
when you were like I was, and like you were Luigi.
Yeah, for those who didn't see the Instagram pictures, Nick shared the pictures of me and my son in our costumes. He was Mario, I was Luigi, and Rylan was an avocado. Yeah. So that was cute.
I was Charlie Brown, cute. Which you couldn't tell.
Yeah,
from the picture.
You were Charlie Brown.
Because I had a
nobody
yellow
could
shirt
tell.
on.
And then Ashley was Miss Rachel, and that one like like
one
preteen
mom
knew. She's like, "Oh, are you Miss Rachel?" And she was so excited.
You look like Miss Rachel.
She's like, see, somebody knew.
Yeah, Miss Rachel, for most of you probably are listening, don't know, is a YouTube channel, a lady that does a YouTube channel for like educational videos for like little kids, and Rylan likes it, and it's good stuff. It's not like, I feel like it's not overstimulating or anything, so we like it. Rylan zones out.
Yeah. So that was it was nice. We did the perfect amount of trick or treating. It wasn't too long. We did probably an hour and a half.
Yeah, just about. It wasn't too bad. Rylan did pretty well then. She was definitely getting frustrated just because she wanted to walk everywhere. Because she just started walking. And
then I would hold, then I would carry her, and then she would talk to me for 20 minutes.
Just telling you everything, pointing at stuff.
Yeah.
Just the green, I think.
It was good though. It was a good time until we got to that house with the skeleton puking up blood.
Dude, that was wild. So like we're rolling up to that last house, and that was the spooky house Jeremiah kept pointing at, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And we walk up, and like it was impressive that guy had that, but there was straight up just a skeleton sitting on the porch, and they had like it rigged so basically there was like tubes that made it appear as if there was blood pouring out of the skeleton's eye sockets, which was pretty intense. Like me and Josh were walking up being like, oh shit. And then the guy was out there, and it looked like his kid was like ready to come out and jump out and scare people. And he's like, he noticed that we had little kids, and he's like, whoa, hold up.
I know, he popped open the door. He was like, come on in. Yeah. And then he was like, oh wait, little kid, stop. Yeah. There was something coming. There was something that we weren't prepared for.
No, I think Jeremiah handled it pretty well, considering, because I think I would have been pretty petrified if I was his age. He looked like he was done after that, though. That kind of
he was done.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, it was good though.
As I said, I don't think Mario ever had to deal with skeletons with blood pouring out of their eye sockets in any of those games. That's a challenge.
That's okay. Yeah, it builds character.
Yeah,
builds character.
Yeah, so
that was it. That was the last time that we were together. It was like I said, it was a real good time. Nice, quick, like I said, hour and a half, and by that time it was all done. We just go back, eat some candy, go to bed.
Yeah, no, it was a good time for sure.
Yeah. So after that, did you go to New York after that?
No, that was before that. I'm trying to think. I don't even remember what we did the weekend in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all a blur. Oh, my mom had sort of a birthday gathering that weekend after for Ash's birthday. So happy birthday to co-podcaster. I think we'll call her Code Podcaster as opposed to Friends of the Podcast, because she's been on a few times. My wife Ash, it was her birthday on the Saturday, so we kind of went over to my mom's house. I have an aunt and a friend, and my uncle are like all, I should say, friend of the podcast, Nate, and my aunt are both Halloween birthdays. And then my uncle's November 11th, so my mom usually does something. So we just kind of did that weekend, and pretty much hung out on Sunday. Didn't do a ton. I was watching Rylan because Ash was out. Yeah. I think that was about it.
Nice. Yeah. And then you got away this past weekend.
Yeah.
You got away for the long weekend.
Yeah. So we went up to do the Rescue Me 5K that I could say our friends on the SLASR podcast, because I met them in person now. They're both really nice guys, Mike and Stomp. They kind of have been promoting that the Lakes Region Search and Rescue up in New Hampshire was actually doing sort of a fundraiser 5K. I think it's the third or fourth year they've done it from what I heard. But it's right in downtown Lincoln, New Hampshire, so we got a little condo up there. And the 5K was on Saturday, so kind of just planned accordingly. I ended up driving up Friday, naturally, to go hiking by myself. And actually not by myself. Yeah. I met a gentleman, Mike. that won't mention his last name because I don't know him super well enough to be able to mention him on the podcast yet and how he'd feel about it. So met him. I'd crossed him hiking a few times and kind of been working on and off to try to sort of hook up and bag some peaks together. So the original hike we were planning on to do Mount Chikura. I need Middle Sister still, which is on Mount Chikura for one of my 52 of the views. He's working on the Terrifying 25 list, which is all terrifying, allegedly, trails in New Hampshire. Once we saw that it was snowy and icy, we decided we were not going to do that because this trail has a very ledgy section that's not recommended if it's icy or wet or anything. So we kind of were looking around, and he actually pitched the idea of doing Mount Moriah because he needs it for his fall 48 4,000 footers. And I need Shelburne, Moriah, which are kind of near each other, up around Gorham, sort of New Hampshire, along the eastern border. So we met up on Friday morning, did a car spot traverse up Mount Moriah from Carter Moriah Trail over to Kenduskeag Trail out to Shelburne, Moriah, then back down Rattle River Trail. So the parking areas are maybe like 5 minutes apart, so not too bad. And had a good day. It was cold up there. Winter's already hitting the whites. Had some really good views. Went back Friday night and kind of just chilled out. And then Saturday woke up, did that 5K, met the SLASR guys. It was really nippy up there on Saturday morning. Yeah. It was like...
Well, hold on. Let's backtrack for a second. So this guy is just somebody that you met while you were hiking, and then you guys just decided to hike with one another?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've been chatting back and forth a little bit with him. He seemed like not a serial killer, so... that's what I was going to say. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. You got to vet him. You got to make sure you vet him first before you go hiking. Yeah, he's already done like the 52 the view and has kind of progressed to one of the patches is to do the 48 4,000 footers in all different seasons, calendar seasons. Yeah. So he's kind of working on that, and I've kind of asked him advice about certain trails and certain questions and parking and things like that, and he's been pretty helpful.
Does he listen to the pod?
He does not listen to the pod. No.
Oh, my goodness.
He's into like true crime pods and things like that more. And also, which I don't blame him for, he's also was like, oh, I'm into podcasts where people kind of just get down to business and talk about the subject of the podcast and don't bullshit for like 20 minutes. So I'm like, yeah, that's not
us.
Yeah. He's like, no offense. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not taking any offense to it whatsoever. Yeah. So not a fan of the podcast. Unfortunately.
Sounds grumpy.
Yeah. No, he was pretty good dude, so.
It's okay. You don't listen to the pod anyways. I can say whatever I want.
Yeah. No,
I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but no serial killer vibes. I made it back intact.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. And then what'd you say you went? So the next morning was the 5K?
Yeah, so the 5K was in Lincoln. We had to go to Bergen Outdoors to do bib pickup and stuff, which is in that like shopping mall with like One Love and everything. And the race pretty much started and finished at One Love, kind of went on Main Street for a little bit and then kind of went across towards like, I guess, the northern side of Main Street and the Kank and kind of went through some neighborhoods and then kind of came back around. We were kind of debating who was going to push Rylan in the stroller. Rylan was a little champ, by the way. She was in like this new Columbia snowsuit we had, so she was nice and toasty and did really well. And Ash ended up pushing her and did awesome. I think she made out with around like a 9-minute pace or so. And despite
that's pretty good.
Yeah, it was. She did really well, or maybe like a 9:30 pace. But
there was snow on the ground too, right?
Yeah. Here and there, it wasn't like an issue, but snow's already hitting the mountains and stuff up there. Like I had to use my micro spikes for the first time hiking on Friday. So the snow and ice is coming up in the mountains, and I'm thinking it's probably going to last the way that this year is looking with the weather and the temperatures. Yeah, there was definitely snow and ice like on the ground in Lincoln, and I don't think I went much above freezing most of the time we were there over the weekend. So it was pretty nippy. Felt good though. Like I'm ready for some winter weather, other than the fact that we have like no daylight right now.
Yeah,
which happens every year, but it still just feels like such a drag all the time.
Pitch black at 4:45 ain't doing it for me.
Yeah, it kind of sucks.
So how'd you run?
I did well. So Mike of the SLASR podcast was I kind of passed him at one point, and I guess he used to run competitively, even though he's an older gentleman than I. But still very quick. So he kind of came up behind me, I think around the 2 mile mark or something like that. And I was kind of like, I just wanted to keep around a 7:30. So I was definitely going to break that at that point. And, it was funny. He actually was up behind me and I actually like spit, 'cause I had like, just like crap dripping down my throat and stuff, and I thought I almost spit on him. I'm like, sorry. He's like, no, you're good. Don't worry about it. And and kind of ended up passing me a little bit, and I kind of ended up chasing him for a little bit towards like the last mile or whatever, and I was happy I like broke like a 7-minute pace. And the beginning was pretty clogged up as most 5Ks are, like you kind of weaving around people, like everybody's sort of finding their pace. So I think I could have even done better than that, but I was stoked. It's always good to have someone that like you're trying to follow and push and like pick your pace. I guess he was sort of following my shoulder in kind of line throughout sort of the beginning, and kind of ended up passing me in the end. But kudos to him, because he must have ran about a 650. I think I was like a 659 or 658 or something, so he was probably around 640 something or 650. So That's pretty good. I aspire to even being a little bit old. I mean, obviously older than us, but I'm like, that's pretty freaking fast.
Yeah.
So kudos to him. But yeah, I got pushed into that, and we ended up kind of hanging out, went back, and I give the SLASR guys credit again, because they were doing an event at Reklis Brewing later that night, which we ended up going to and checking out. They were actually doing a live episode at Reklis with a couple different folks. I know they had Ty Gagney, who's written some of the different hiking books people probably know about up in New Hampshire, about some different tragedies and sort of the psychoanalysis of dealing with things like that and how you react in sort of dangerous life and death situations. He's wrote like Where You'll Find Me and The Last Traverse. I'm not sure if he's written anything else yet. And he was actually doing a beer collaboration with Reklis called Full Conditions. It was like IPA they did, and all the benefits go to the New Hampshire Outdoor Council, I think, or inadvertently they not inadvertently, they do get to search and rescue basically. So it was all to benefit that, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, they got to. So hold on, they got to make a beer that the proceeds of that beer just went to
not
search and rescue.
Not SLASR directly, but Ty Gagney, the author, worked with them. But the event was like, they got to do an event that they literally released a beer, which is pretty awesome. Yeah,
that's we gotta do.
So they just like show up and they're all drinking like the Full Conditions beer that like Ty Gagney helped Reklis work with and help them brew and stuff. Which it's awesome too that they give the proceeds to that to help out search and rescue and whatnot. That's pretty neat. But yeah, I was they had stickers for like the beer and stuff. It was legit.
Yeah,
it's very cool.
We can do that. We can put out a beer.
I don't know what would our beer be? What kind of style beer?
Sour.
A sour. We can't do a sour. I think we need two beers. I think we need a beer that would be my beer and a beer that would be your beer.
All right, that's a deal.
Yeah.
That's a deal.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna be. I will only partake in the enjoyment of the beer. I got nothing on the brewing. That's all you.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to come out in their episode of how Ty Gagney was actually involved in it, but I kind of wonder why they came out with an IPA. And full conditions is like terminology for like when the weather's basically like effed outside, pretty much, like when it's really really bad, like wind and cold and stuff like that. Like they'd call that's like full conditions. So that's kind of where it comes from. But yeah, again, they put on a hell of a day, those dudes, like helping out with their sort of the running team and getting that going on. They had a SLASR team with I think like 20 something people on it. The road race for being in Lincoln, I think it had 366 people running it. So it was actually a pretty big race. I guess they only had like 200 last year, and they had like, I think like over 400 signed up, and like 360 something actually ran it.
That's pretty good. Wow. Then
afterwards they had a little after party at One Love, and you could get like a free beer and stuff. So that was really cool. Ended up checking that out.
I like One Love. I like that little shopping center that they got over there in Lincoln.
Yeah, so we have a PUD sticker in there. Actually, we have a couple PUD stickers now.
Yeah.
Maybe looking around there. So
I put one in there when did I go there? Over the summer. I put one in there.
Yeah,
I'm surprised you found it. That was good. Good for you. Good eyes.
It was kind of near the bottom. It was kind of it's not like it was in the. It wasn't in the most obvious spot, but it wasn't really hidden.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you happen to be in Lincoln, check it out. Try to find the PUDs Podcast sticker. That's over there.
Yeah. Did you go into the little thrift store that's over there?
In the shopping mall?
Yeah.
I think like this Ash might have gone in it.
What is it?
I think Ash might have gone into it after. Yeah. Is it like on the left after you walk in?
Yeah.
In the back?
No, if you go in and One Love's on your left, it's on your right.
Yeah. I think Ash walked in there after. We actually checked out Bergen Outdoors because I've never been in there before, and I was just kind of looking at their clothing and ended up buying like a nice little like hoodie from them.
What did you think about them?
There's stuff. Yeah, I mean, it all looked good. I mean, obviously it's pricey, but I don't know if it's necessarily much worse than like some of the other name brands. And their big thing was like they try to like locally source as much as they can, and it's all the fabrics like purchased in the USA and whatnot. So I liked a lot of the last time I went there. I liked a lot of the style of their stuff, but like you said, it was just a little too rich for me. I'm not out there utilizing it like hiking and stuff like that. It really would have been only for a hoodie to go wear to soccer with my kid. Like, I'm not gonna spend $150 on that. Like, some of the underlayers, like I don't need anything currently. Really, I'm not really in the market. Like, I kind of got my winter gear set up already between underlayers and all things like that. But it looked like they had good stuff, and I think they had like some sort of sign or article up saying like they came in, like I don't know if it was like some hiking magazine, they got one of their underlayers got like nominated for like best of the year or whatever. So that's granted, like some of the underlayers were like, I don't know, $175 or something like that. Like they were not that. I mean, I have Smartwool stuff that's pretty pricey too, but a lot of that stuff you buy it and you use it for like years. So it's not like you're gonna go out and buy one every year or even every like couple of years. But nice store. They were super kind in there and whatnot too. I haven't checked them out. Yes, they've been in business for like 4 years. So it was good to get in there. We promote
way too much New Hampshire stuff.
We do.
For people that don't live in New Hampshire.
Josh is like, you need to start going to other places.
Yeah, let's go to Westfield. Let's go to Westfield, Mass.
Start plugging some other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Shout out to Dansbury.
Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so I think that pretty much wrapped up Saturday. Reklis always has super good food and beer. Just plugging the New Hampshire shit.
Yeah. That's all right.
Yeah, and Sunday we were checking out. It was funny. So we're like unpacking and whatnot, and I like actually lost the keys to get into the condo building for like 10 minutes without my phone or anything on me. So I got my MacBook out of the computer to text Ashley to like let me back in the building because I had like a t-shirt and shorts on, and it was like 25 degrees outside. Back in the car.
Rocks at the window.
I was ready. I was like, what do I do right now? And like, I'm glad. Like, I probably would have went some. I mean, I could have probably just asked someone in her store for a cell phone because I do know her cell phone number to call her. But it was just kind of funny. I was like, oh shit, like I'm out here right now, and it's really cold.
I got shorts on.
Yeah. I'm like, I guess I could
snow
walk
on the ground.
Like this doesn't seem great.
Yeah.
But after we kind of packed up and whatnot, I wanted to do a little hike with Rylan. We brought our Osprey carrier pack with us and did Stinson Mountain, which is in Rumney, and also a 52 with a view, but it's pretty sheltered and it's really short. It's like less than 4 miles round trip, and I think it's around 1,400 feet of elevation gain. So it's like shorter mileage than like doing like Wachusett and like a little bit more elevation gain.
Nice.
Pretty mellow.
How'd she do?
She did great. She was a little cranky on the summit because we took her out and she wanted to walk around. And like literally kept trying to walk like off the giant ledge that faces south that was covered in ice and snow. And she didn't nap as well as normal up there either, which is probably to be expected because it's a different place. And we were just doing all sorts of stuff and meeting different people and being around like more people than she's ever been around.
Right.
But all things considered, she did great. She was super happy hiking. It was adorable. She fell asleep probably about 10 minutes after we left the summit, like in my backpack, just passed out drooling.
Yeah.
And in her little snowsuit and whatnot. So that was pretty cool.
That's the danger, though, when they're not strapped in. They just want to, once they start walking, that's all they want to do is move around and touch everything. Yeah,
she even like in the condo, it's like as soon as she heard us talk at all, and when she was napping, she's like wanted to walk around the hallway and. I think she only ran to the coffee table once that she kept insisting on playing right next to the entire time.
That's okay. She's going to have falls. There's going to be bumps and bruises. It's going to happen.
It's funny, too, with her talking more like she knows the word hat and stuff. So, like, literally the entire weekend, because we're in New Hampshire, like, and it was cold, there's just people wearing hats. So she's just like, hat, 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 hat.
Cute.
Like the whole weekend.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Dude. Yeah. So just drove home on Sunday after we did Stinson, and that was pretty much it. But it was a cool weekend. It's great to again shout out to Mike and Stomp for. I know since they shared our podcast that we definitely got more listeners. Not that we're like blisteringly popular or something like that.
I don't know.
But I mean,
man.
we're like, dude, like we haven't gone like we don't go that many days without a download anymore. It's kind of cool.
And we're very infrequent. Not that we're infrequent in putting out our episodes, but. We're definitely not scheduled. We're going to tighten up the ship eventually.
Yeah.
But we're still trying to, I mean, we got full-time jobs and kids that are trying to grow and we're trying to raise them the right way. So
and hobbies.
Yeah, that's just you. No hobbies over here. No hobbies over here. It's just you. Oh man, my hobby right now has been like trying to keep the leaves off my lawn, which is that I actually enjoy. I actually enjoy being outside and like raking and stuff like that right now.
Yeah, I've been blowing a little bit at a time and trying to keep it out.
You definitely been blowing for sure.
Not gonna touch. I was like, is he gonna touch that one at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel you though. There's a certain amount of like satisfaction you get out of like making your yard devoid of all leaves, and then like the next day it'll be like covered again. No, I think we're pretty much almost done over here. It seems like once we got that snap of cold weather, like everything just dropped its leaves.
Yeah.
Trees are like,
I'm in good shape. I'm in good shape right now. I hope I don't have to do any more raking.
No, did you end up
I only have one rake.
Oh, you only have one rake? You didn't even get like an attachment or something? You're just raking?
Yeah, I'm just raking. Or I'll mow them. I'll just ride over them and just mulch them all up.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, you come take a look. My lawn's looking pretty damn good right now.
That's good. I thought you were all about like you were gonna get like a burn barrel to burn leaves. And stuff
I
like
was. I'm not. Listen, one thing at a time. That's a down the road. That's a 5-year plan. That's a 5-year plan.
What about your blow up tarantula? Is he in for the season?
Yeah, the blow up tarantula is away for the season. Pretty soon it's going to be the Christmas narwhal.
Do you actually have a Christmas narwhal?
Of course I have a Christmas narwhal.
Do you really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
You bought him in advance?
A little narwhal. He got a little Santa hat on. He's beautiful.
Is it like the narwhal from like Elf or something?
No, it's just I don't know. Christmas it's narwhal? Just a narwhal. We can pretend it's the
I'm not going to ask questions. Seems very specific.
Have you started putting out your Christmas decorations yet?
Oh no, I'm still I like took down like our Halloween pumpkins and stuff, and I still just have like orange colored like they're not Christmas lights, but orange colored lights up that I had for Halloween. Yeah. Those are still fall. Those are still fall enough for me. And I went I went a little crazy with the window clings that I bought for Thanksgiving for Rylan. I didn't realize that one of the packs I bought on Amazon was like an 8-pack, and it was like almost like made for like a classroom. So I used about half of them, but it covered up like all our windows. There's like straight up like 12-inch by 12-inch turkeys clings.
That's awesome.
Like they're quite large. I have a very nice fall scene in our front 2 windows right now.
That's great.
Yeah, with the words fall
Jeremiah
and autumn.
He loves the window clings. Can't get enough of them.
They're all like fall, harvest, love, thankful.
Great, perfect. Right on cue.
Yeah, man.
Right on cue for Thanksgiving. Have you been brewing any beer?
No, I haven't. Not lately. I've got 2 beer kits. I still have that barley wine that I need to bottle. That's been going on.
Is it sitting?
Yeah, it's in secondary, so it's basically in an airtight blocked sort of container. It's in a carboy.
Yeah.
And that you're supposed to actually age like 3 to 6 months anyways, but it's way like I think I actually brewed it almost going on a year ago, which is kind of crazy. I was actually looking at it.
Bottle that bad boy.
It's fine. It's airtight. It's sealed.
Yeah.
It's not going to go, and it's been like in a cool place, not in the sun, so can't really go too bad.
That's a good Christmas
But I
gift,
do need to bottle it. Yeah, my goal now is like I probably need to bottle this so at least it's drinkable for Christmas, because that'd be nice to be able to give out to people, and also for me to be able to drink around Christmas.
That's a cool thing to be able to like make like something and then give it out as a Christmas gift, like people that make like preserves and stuff like that. Like obviously beer is better than preserves, but that's pretty cool to be able to do.
I was gonna say I just gave you like hard cider that I still had. I'm like, should I make like strawberry jam for you next year instead?
No, I don't want no strawberry jam.
I'd have a hard cider.
I'm a schmuckers man through and through.
Schmuckers. Yeah, man. So I don't know. I could get into how to brew beer a little bit. I don't think we've ever really gotten to that. I know we were going to try to do sort of a segue to the Reklis thing to that.
I think that'd be pretty cool. Because especially like now hearing, because I didn't even know that they did that collaboration with Reklis to put out their own beer. Like now, and you got my my brain turning on how we can get our own beer get going.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, so it wasn't a SLASR beer; it was like a more of a Tigagny beer, I guess.
Guy.
But yeah, I mean, to be able to brew
was.
with something like do something with like Berkeley or whatever, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, so I mean, a high level, like I've been brewing like background. I've been probably brewing on and off for like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years now. Josh has had a decent amount of my beer, so I can validate that my beer doesn't taste like utter garbage or anything.
It's not bad.
Yeah,
it's way better than Wormtown Pumpkin Ale. I'll tell you
as we affirmed in the previous episode, and it doesn't take much to beat that. I think I honestly would drink a lot of beers over that beer.
Yeah.
Wormtown. Yeah. I generally have only done liquid malt kits, so I haven't done the full, like, where you actually derive your own malt and stuff from, like, and kind of get that going. But in a nutshell, like, beer is pretty much malts and hops and mixture of other ingredients depending on what you're kind of doing. The first step kind of with making beer, and obviously water, I should mention, is a big ingredient in beer. That's pretty important as well, since it is a liquid. But kind of to start making beer, you kind of get your malt and you get your hops and kind of all your other ingredients, and you actually kind of go through a boiling process. Hops actually contain a chemical in them that actually, or I guess it's sort of a chemical, but that actually releases the bitterness that you kind of get familiar with beer. So a big thing to pay attention to with beer and like most recipes is sort of the boil. They'll always do stuff in boil time. So like they'll kind of be like, oh, typically it's like a 60-minute boil process. So you're boiling your malt and water and everything for about an hour. And usually there'll be hop schedules, which will tell you when to add the certain hops and how long they're supposed to be in for. And basically how long a certain hop is boiling at a certain temperature will actually release a certain amount of acidity and bitterness into the beer itself. And kind of a big thing that a lot of people know about nowadays is when you talk about a dry hopped beer, that's actually when you throw in hops after sort of that boiling process. And instead of the hops getting the bitterness, you kind of get that really flowery taste and kind of the fruitiness and kind of the other different flavors that hops have. You're not really getting the bitterness. So if you ever see like dry hopped or double dry hopped or whatever, a lot of times double dry hopped, like they're dry hopping it like during secondary fermentation or kind of in other processes and kind of well after the boil. But you kind of get your mixture together once you have your malts and everything like that and the hops and stuff. It's not actually beer yet. It's technically called the wort. It's wort being almost not a wart like on your body or something. It's actually WORT, the wort. And at that point you have sort of the bare bones, the ingredients for your beer. And what does the magic for you and turns the wort into beer is a wonderful little organism that you probably learned about in middle school and high school called yeast. So there's a bunch of different yeast strains. And yeast do this amazing little thing, which is they consume sugar and malt, and they produce alcohol and carbon dioxide. So that is how the wort turns into beer. And you're kind of you pitch your yeast, usually once it's down to a certain temperature. There's different types of yeast, depending what type of beer you're going to make and what type of flavor you're looking for. Yeast kind of differ in the different sort of flavors and esters they produce. They also differ in what kind of alcohol tolerance that they can actually ferment up to. So there's some that might only survive with like 9 or 10% alcohol and then they die and they can't do their job anymore. There's other ones like champagne yeast that can go up to, or wine yeast that can go up to probably 15 or 20, maybe 20% even, before they actually sort of fizzle out and can't do their thing anymore. And yeah, so they actually are the sort of the wonderful thing that actually turns your wort into beer, or for any fermentable for that matter. Pretty much that's how sort of any alcohol really is pretty much produced at a baseline.
Can I ask you, where the hops, is there like a bush? How do they grow?
I believe, I'm not sure if it's technically sort of a vine or plant. It's actually in the same family as cannabis. So it's in the same family as marijuana. So if you ever smell hops, actually smell a lot like weed, basically.
Yeah.
It's in the same family, and they have, I'm trying to think, I believe it's like alpha acid, but when I was talking about the hop schedule and stuff, there's a formula. I need my buddy Rob, who's a cicerone, to talk about this on this show sometime. Maybe we can try to get him. But there's an actual formula for how long you will boil a certain hop that's a certain like acidity. I believe it's called like alpha acid or something like that. and it will basically determine the IBUs in your beer. So a lot of people that are kind of beer snobs, or even if you just ever looked at a beer bottle, a lot of times it'll say IBUs, which stands for International Bitterness Units, which is a standard measurement for bitterness in beer. And
sounds made up.
It's not. It's very much
it's a bitterness thing. Unit.
It's very much a thing, and that's how you actually can determine how bitter your beer is going to get by using different hops. So that's kind of a whole thing. And obviously, like, there's beers that are more bitter than styles than others. Like IPAs, obviously, are typically more bitter than like a pale ale or like sours. And there's some beers that barely use any hops at all. Like sours, for instance, usually don't see a ton of hops. A lot of stouts, you don't really see that many hops in them because they're just not really part of the flavor. A lot of that, and I think the fundamental use of hops was actually that bitterness and the acid they release besides the alcohol also acts as a preservative, so that beer doesn't go bad.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm not a hoppy beer kind of guy. Like, I'm not a hops fan.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much all beer has hops in it, but for example, like a lot of the English style ales or like the barley wine I just made, like you barely put any hops in that.
Yeah.
Whereas opposed to an IPA, you're probably dumping like, I don't know, like 8 to 16 ounces of hops sometimes. No. And if you're dry hopping, you're doing a lot more. So
it's kind of crazy that somebody just started, like, took all this time, did all this, threw some yeast in there, and made beer one day.
Well, so not even throw yeast in there, though. So when you get into stuff like saisons and like farmhouse ales, there's certain strains of beer and just like with wines where it just happens naturally. Like there's yeast in the air, like everywhere. Like I shouldn't say in the air, like it's an organism that lives on Earth. So when, like, I think originally like mead or things would happen, yeast would actually just get into people's fermentables basically, and they'd start turning it bad, which is like literally cider will just do that. If you just left a container of cider with sugar in it outside in your yard, it would probably start fermenting and going bad. But again, that's because a wild strain of yeast that just lives in the area gets into it and is starting to do its thing, eating the sugar and producing alcohol and CO2.
That's so wild.
Yeah, so it's pretty it's interesting. It's just something that kind of happens because it exists.
What's your favorite kind of beer to brew?
I don't know.
That you drink. That's the
like my
favorite.
You drink. Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say any kind that I drink. The recipe I've probably made the most is a certain double IPA recipe that you actually use honey in, which is really good. I think it gives a really good flavor to it. So that one, I think, I forget what the company I usually use is Northern Brewer for ingredients. I've also gone to local brew shops from here. Time to time, and kind of gotten stuff from them locally. But that's probably my favorite. I mean, some of the most interesting ones I've done beer that I put like dried fruit in and stuff before. I've done an IPA that I put like blueberries and like mango and all sorts of stuff in it a while back. Kind of made the mistake of doing it too soon before the yeast was actually done fermenting though, because it definitely like triggered it to do its thing again, which I don't think it can't literally ferment like fruit, like that kind of sugar, but probably like, because it was frozen stuff, I'm sure there was like residual sugar and syrup that it was stored in. So it actually made it kind of ferment again. Yeah. Probably one of my more interesting stories, which Josh knows about, and you can still see down in our living room kind of basement area, is I did a cider 2 years ago and I dry hopped it. And in the blow off tube, so what happens after you pitch your yeast, and if things are going correctly, as the yeast start to ferment, they release a ton of CO2, but you need it to be airtight. So usually you'll use a tube that's basically running from your fermenting vessel, which I use glass carboys that are like 5 gallons to 6.5 gallons. And it allows you to release CO2, and then typically you'll put the other end of the tube. So one of the tubes in the fermenter, the other end of the tube is usually in I just use like a pail or a bucket with water in it. So it keeps it airtight. So you have that other end of the tube and it'll just blow CO2 out and like kind of let it do its thing. So very important thing when you're doing that is to make sure that the CO2 can escape from wherever it's coming from in the vessel. I dry hopped a cider I was making and it fermented very vigorously, which was great. But unfortunately the dry hops and the other things I put in it, like cinnamon sticks and stuff, I just put too many ingredients in it at the top. It clogged my blow-off tube, and the next morning, which happened to be my birthday because I did it the day before, I got downstairs, and it was basically a massacre downstairs. Because what happened is that the hops and everything clogged my blow-off tube, and one end of the tube quite literally blew off one side of the fermenter, and it shot molasses and cinnamon and brown sugar and dried apple slices, dry hops, and a whole bunch of other stuff all over the walls of our living room downstairs. And ceiling. So literally, Josh was like, don't forget the ceiling. Thanks, Josh. Yeah, so
You're welcome.
Chemistry in action literally happened in my basement.
Yeah.
So
it was like a little
that's probably one of my more
kit.
That was one of my own more interesting stories of brewing anything. That wasn't beer necessarily. And again, cider, like any hard cider you use, it's the same process. Ciders can be pretty simple though, because you literally can just buy cider from a supermarket and put yeast in it and kind of, that's it.
That's it.
So yeah, that's
barley wine. The barley wine that you're brewing now, or that's sitting and waiting to be bottled. Is that your first time doing a barley wine?
No, that's like the third one I've probably made.
Yeah.
Barley wines are like, I think traditionally an Old English style beer, but they're usually pretty high ABV. I think this one's around 9 or 10%. I gotta look. Nice. I have it written down somewhere. Yeah, and what I did with that, when I say that it's sitting in secondary, what that means is that I took it out of the primary fermentation vessel, so it fermented, it did its whole thing. Generally, you can just see when it stops because CO2 bubbles start. Wow, I can't talk. Stop coming out. When CO2 bubbles stop coming out, you can tell the fermentation's done. I have like a little cool Bluetooth device that actually tracks the gravity of beer and stuff, which I can get into another time, what gravity is and why you use that to measure alcohol. Unless you want to hear about that too.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Might as well.
All right. So gravity. So that's another thing you'll see with beer. A lot of times they'll put the OG on it or the FG. You'll see what that is. And that's original gravity and final gravity. What that equates to is essentially the density of the beer. You can measure that using a hydrometer, which is sort of this handy little device that you can take readings for the gravity of beer. And in a nutshell, what gravity does in beer is it allows you to determine how much alcohol was created. Because it gets, I believe it's the deal is that it gets less dense when you have alcohol in it because the yeast are starting to eat through the malt and stuff. So there's this whole formula where like if your original gravity is like 1098 and your final gravity is like 1054, you subtract those from each other. So it'd be like 1098 minus 1054. So say that's your original gravity that you started after you brewed. After the yeast did its thing, the final gravity is like 1054. You multiply that times 131. And that's actually effectively the alcohol percentage that you've got out of it. So it measures how much alcohol got produced.
And that
I'm gonna lose people. Yeah. Yeah, I know that one pretty well. But anyways, I have a device that tracks that. So I know that my barley wine primary fermentation was completely finished, and then you actually let it age, which allows the yeast some time to finish up and clean up the beer a little bit more. And also when you age beer, like just it can kind of take some of the other harsh flavors out of it. There's probably more technical terms for why exactly people age beer, but it makes it smoother.
So this barley wine, or like anything that you finished, right? So you said it's sitting in secondary right now, right?
Yep.
So could realistically, right, you take that and put it into a bourbon barrel.
Yep.
And then that'll make it a bourbon, and it sits in there for whatever, a year. And
exactly.
Then that'll make it a bourbon ale or whatever.
Exactly. That's exactly how you do it. So people will take it. You take it out of its primary fermentation. The big deal and the big reason why you take it out of that first fermentation thing is you end up with a giant yeast cake on the bottom, which is all basically the yeast after they die. They just sit at the bottom and they chill out. So they'll actually start to spoil the beer after a while and make it taste like shit. So you take it off the yeast and you put it in something else, which gets rid of pretty much all that. And yeah, it sits in secondary. So mine's like it's aging, quote unquote. But yeah, whenever you see like a bourbon barrel aged stout or something like that, that's exactly what they're doing. It means that they took it off primary fermentation and they're letting it sit and age in something.
Nice.
So it ends up getting the flavors of whatever barrel it's sitting in, whether it be like a rum barrel or a bourbon barrel, or even, there's beers that use like Cabernet barrels and things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm figuring it all out, putting all the pieces together to this puzzle.
Apologize for it. It's a little bit of a scattered episode. Probably could have laid out some points, but yeah, that's brewing in a nutshell. The only other thing I did want to mention is that the fundamental difference between lagers, you see lagers and ales. Most beers are ales, like IPAs, barley wines, pale ales, sours. I'm trying to think of other varieties of beer.
Pilsners?
So a Pilsner is actually a lager. So, or you see like Sam's Boston Lager, and the big difference usually between lager yeast and ale yeast, so that ale yeast ferment at a much higher temperature than lager yeast. So like everybody thinks lager, like a lot of people will think Oktoberfest, and that literally comes from like people in the area, those like Germanic areas and stuff, would actually brew beer and then pitch their own lager yeast to it and actually put in like basements and stuff like that, so it'd be ready for like the fall for Oktoberfest and stuff like that. But those yeasts actually ferment at like, some of them are like even as low as like 40 degrees the yeast can ferment, whereas ale yeasts are typically around like 65 to like mid 70s maybe. You don't want it to go really higher or lower. Like if the fermentation range goes too low, it just won't do its thing at all. And if it goes too high, like it can go too crazy and it ferments like too quickly and it can produce off flavors. So so whenever you see lager and ales, they're actually two different types of beer, and it's by whatever yeast you use, which I think a lot of people don't actually realize. So yeah.
Yeah. We gotta get you into a brewery, and we gotta create the PUDs Podcast beer. That's what we gotta do.
Pud Suds.
PUDs Suds. That was great. Yes. Let's do it. Let's do it. Anything else you want to talk about brewing or recapping or anything?
No, man. I think that was a pretty good. That
was
pretty
informative.
Good brewing dump for anybody. Yeah, I mean, there's a brewing dump. Whoa, whoa. Yeah, a brewing information dump. If you are into brewing, there's really good resources online. One of the Bibles of brewing is a book called How to Brew. Look it up if you are interested in brewing. There's also a website that kind of gives at a high level a lot of stuff that's in that if you really do want to get into home brewing. But I've had a lot of fun doing it. It's a fun hobby. I have not been having the time to do it, so I just haven't been doing it as much. But I don't know. I probably did like at least 30 or 40 brews.
The babies will do that.
Yeah.
The babies will do it. They'll take that time away.
Yeah, Ryland's not a big fan of just standing around looking at me boiling a wort on the deck and not trying to do anything. So I do have a couple kits I need to do for the holidays too. I think I have like an Irish white ale, and I think I have another IPA that I got to do. So maybe that'll happen over Thanksgiving weekend. I'll get back into it.
Nice.
Yeah, man. But I think that's it.
All right, let's get into the descent.
All right, buddy. Got anything to plug in our descending tonight?
So I know spooky season's over, but right at the end of spooky season, I watched the on Netflix the Fall of the House of Usher series. Have you seen that?
No, I have not. The Fall of the House of Usher.
Yeah, Fall of the House of Usher. So basically, which is Edgar Allan Poe story.
Okay.
But basically, if you watched like Haunting of Hill House, or I forgot what the other one was, it's made by the same people, and it kind of is a story about just like a wealthy family. And
I know which people you're talking about.
Yeah,
I can't think. Yeah. The Haunting of Hill House, I think we watched, and then I'm trying to think what the second one was.
Yeah. So they that was a good show, good little spooky series by those people, and they kind of combine a lot of Edgar Allan Poe stories into the whole story, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't know if you're an Edgar Allan Poe fan or not, but
I know of the stories. Some of them.
The way I like to describe it when I was explaining it to Melissa, it was like Succession. It was like a spooky version of Succession, because they're just so rich, and then there's just all kinds of crazy stuff happens. So yeah, I thought that was cool. And then I actually just started watching again the new Twilight Zone with Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele produced like the newer Twilight Zone.
Oh, I didn't know they rebooted that. That's cool.
Oh yeah, it's been out for a few years now.
Okay.
But it's on Prime. It's on Amazon Prime if you have it.
We do.
Yeah, it's cool. It's very Jordan Peele-y, but I always loved the Twilight Zone growing up. I loved even the black and white, like watching those old black and white episodes.
Yeah, I remember they used to be on Sci-Fi Channel like all the time on like Sundays or something.
That was like my favorite thing to do for like years was on New Year's Eve. For some reason, they always play the Twilight Zone.
They do.
So just get some Chinese food and watch the Twilight Zone.
That sounds solid.
So, but yeah, check that out. Check out those shows. Like I said, Netflix for Fall of House of Usher and Amazon Prime for the Twilight Zone.
Cool, man. So,
how about you?
Up in New Hampshire, we started watching Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares because it was like through freebie on Amazon Prime, and we're super just like we were watching Suits a little bit, but I think we fell off a little bit on that, and we were just looking for something up there to watch like later at night. That was kind of mindless, and I saw this. I'm like, let's check this out for a change. I'm like, everybody's talked about this, and I've never watched this before, so we're just in the mood to watch something like trashy and interesting. Not that it's I wouldn't say it's trashy, but it's
not trashy. Yeah, it's so good.
It just shows how I'm sure there's stuff that they absolutely set up in that show to make it more ridiculous than it actually is, but it's still super entertaining.
It tastes like cardboard.
Yeah. I like it. Like in like the third episode, there's like a French chef, and he's like, "You French pig!" Like Jesus.
Oh, yeah, that episode's good.
Yeah,
that episode.
And he keeps being like all the like pretty much within like 30 seconds of walking in wherever, he's just like, "Fuck me," all the time. That's like all he says. It's pretty funny.
It's like eating a wet diaper.
Yeah, he just says like ridiculous stuff like that. There was like tilapia with like shrimp or something, and he's just like, "It looks like a baby took a shit here."
The best. The best is when like he like asks, like, "Did they put this in the microwave?" And then they go and like the guy's like, "No, I didn't put it in the microwave."
Dude,
but then like the camera caught him putting it in the microwave.
Or like the classic is like with asking if it's like fresh crab or fresh seafood, and people are just like it's never like it's never a fresh crab cake, like almost ever.
It's fresh,
and it's like they keep thinking it's like I guess they think he's not gonna notice or something, which to me is like amazing because I think most people could probably tell the difference between like a frozen crab cake or a fresh crab cake, especially if you grew up like around here. Yeah,
it tastes frozen.
Is this
fresh? Yeah, it's fresh. It's fresh frozen. That's the best when they say that.
He's like, well, it's made fresh.
Crab.
It's made fresh here, but it's like, but the food's frozen. I know you cooked it right now. That doesn't mean it's fresh. Yeah, it's funny
That's a good
that
show.
All the deviations and what people think are fresh. Yeah, it's been good. So yeah, that's what we've been watching lately.
In that same vein, I started watching Shark Tank. You ever watch Shark Tank?
Not really, no. Yeah.
Dude, it's like almost as good.
Really?
It's almost as good. I like watching these people pitch their ideas for like businesses or products and stuff like that to these guys, and I'm just like crapping on them. It's so good.
Does it like so whoever wins like gets their product endorsed and gets like a bunch of money for it, kind of deal?
Yeah, no. So they go and pitch the product. So like what's one of them? Like the Scrub Buddy. The Scrub Buddy was one of them. It's like the sponge that's the smiley face. So they go and like pitch it to like the people and try to get them to invest.
Yeah.
And then either they do or they don't. And then a couple of them maybe one will invest at this amount or that whatever. And then they have to like decide who they're gonna partner up with with their product. So yeah, it's good. Maybe
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Check it out.
Is that on Prime?
You have YouTube. You have YouTube TV, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be able to find it on there.
Cool, man.
All right, man.
All right,
that's
man.
it.
Yeah, I think that's it for tonight.
It was great to be back.
Yeah,
great to be back with you.
For sure, man. Yeah. All right. Well,
so don't forget, like, review, subscribe. Find us on social media at PUDs Podcast. And bippity boppity, give me the zoppity.
Bye. PUDs Podcast was produced and recorded in Black Cat Studios by the Pud Boys. Find us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving us a review and subscribing. Find us on social media, and we'll see you next time.